didn't. That's not what I did, but I could have. And Mike had known me for 2.5 years, and he's like, Matt wouldn't do that. And Mike experienced enough other Bigfoot stuff to know it was real, but still he was wrestling with this. So they wake him up the morning after the Exodus while we're sleeping and give him 12 tree knocks and stop. And then all of a sudden the light turns on for Mike. I get it. That was for me. That was you telling me that the Council of 12 is real. It really did happen. And then there was 1, 2, 3. He was like, now you're telling me, you're right. Bam! Okay, I get it. Next thing, Mike is up out of his cot, going down the logging road, skipping, laughing, jumping, crying, having his own born-again experience while Grady and I were still sleeping in the cot. That changed his life. That was for him. That was his confirmation. Now, after the Exodus occurred, Steve got his guardian for life, Mike got his, I got mine, Brady got his, Cynthia has hers, and a whole lot of other stuff has happened. But one thing I can tell you is this, that when Zorth says something, he always delivers. Steve told you when he was feeling really overwhelmed by the presence of so many there with him. And you need to understand, in their minds, the inventor of that machine is a rock star. You need to understand, and I'm not saying this in an egotistical way, but so am I. I dedicated 17 years of my life to get this to happen. And when you think 17 years, out of those 17 years, you take 4 years, when you want to add up how many nights I've spent up in the mountains trying to figure this mystery out and who they are, out of those 17 years, the nights I've spent out there total 4 years. 4 years of being up in the mountains and sleeping. They liked that guy a lot. They like this guy a lot. They like Mike Kincaid a lot. Cynthia, Grady. Zeus, the official mascot of Team Squatching USA. So, a lot of stuff has happened. Zorth always delivers, and as Steve told you, when he was being overwhelmed initially, he said, Matt, can you talk with Zorth? So, I have an open comm, you know, like the bat phone with Commissioner Gordon, pick it up, and there's Batman on the other end of the line, right? I've got this open comm with Zorth. It's always there. Now, I do not abuse that privilege. I do not abuse that privilege. If you knew whoever the president happened to be before they became president of the United States of America, and you have their cell phone number in your cell phone, and they're now president, you would not pick up that cell phone and call them every day checking in on how they're doing. They're the president. You don't do that. Zorth is the head of the Council of 12. The Council of 12 consists of 2 elders from each habitable continent, not counting Antarctica, which is uninhabitable. Zorth is the head of the Council of 12, which pretty much makes him the president of the world. You don't do that. I don't do that. But if I think something is very important, I'll ask, and he gives me an answer. So when Steve asked me to talk with Zorth, to ask them to back off and slow things down, I talked with Zorth. He said, okay. And as Steve reported to you, the next day, they backed off. Zorth delivers. Not Matt delivers. Not me. Zorth delivers. People will say, well, Matt's saying this and Matt's doing that, and it's like, no. The only thing I'm doing is sharing with others what Zorth has told me. I don't decide anything. I don't make stuff up. I just pass on what I'm being told. And I'm not being channeled through, me. It's not a channeling. It's a mind speak. Sometimes the voice is audible. Most times it's thought insertion. But it's a very strong thought insertion. And it's clearly not my thoughts, not my thinking. Cynthia and I will be talking, and he'll jump in sometimes. Or I'll be on the phone with somebody who's going through a struggle or has a question, and he'll jump in because he thinks it's worthy of answering that question. So, one of the cool things, and this is, I told you I had 3 things I wanted to cover tonight. 1 was Steve Bachman, yay. 2 was filling in some gaps about the Exodus. 3, one of the coolest things about taking people to SOIA, S-O-I-A, which stands for the Southern Oregon Interaction Area, is the fact that what one knows they all know, what one feels they all feel, and when I bring guests with me to SOIA, and they have the opportunity to meet Zorth and others, and they get known what one knows they all know, they go back home, wherever home happens to be, and all of a sudden, some really awesome stuff starts happening on their property, and or in their home or their bedroom. What one knows they all know, what one feels they all feel. So once they get to know you in SOIA, and it's not that they follow them back home. That's not what they're doing. SOIA is their home. They're staying in SOIA. But what one knows they all know, so you come back home, and the ones hanging around the property now know you better. Because what one knows down in SOIA, they all know everywhere. So once you get tagged, no matter where you go, they know you. Case in point, Cynthia and I met 7 years ago. We go to their family's lake house in Montana every summer. We're laying in bed the first night. Outside the window, 900-pound owl, and pop on the tree. And she elbows me in bed and she says, I've been coming out here my whole life, and that has never happened until you came here. So then on another occasion, I was speaking at a Bigfoot conference on the Washington coast, and instead of staying in that hotel, we went to the beach house in Westport, and we're in the master bedroom, in the bed, lights out, on the beach side of the house. All of a sudden you hear steps coming up the steps and then walking across the deck, and then knock, knock, knock on the window, and then walking back on the deck and down the stairs, and all of a sudden we hear 2 900-pound owls in the grassy dunes. Elbow, I have been coming to this beach house for 25 years, and that has never happened until you showed up. We're in our house in Puyallup, South Hill. We're in bed shortly after moving in.
Spent a lot of time in bed, Matt.
Yeah. It's a good place to be. And, so we're laying there, and all of a sudden, out the window in the greenbelt behind the house, When one knows you, they all know you. What one knows, they all know. What one feels, they all feel. So you go to Soya, they hook up with you, you go back, there they are. Gordon Dodds. If any of you watch the YouTube channel, it's under Team Squatching USA. Just go on to youtube.com, type in Team Squatching USA. I have over, I don't know, 225 videos. If you want to be a real good student, you'll scroll down to the very first video and start watching all the way up and learn a whole lot. So, you'll see a lot of testimonials from people who've come to Soya who go back home, and Gordon Dodds recently came to Soya, and he's from England, mid-60s, gray hair, retiring from the university. He was in Soya. He went into the 12 o'clock area, which is the Dark Cove area, and he talked with Zorth, came back out, and he said, Matt, will you please ask Zorth if I could be a teacher to the youth, the Bigfoot youth in England? And before I could even ask the question, remember the open comm, right? Zorth was hearing that question, and he immediately said yes. Tell him yes. And then he said, also tell him when he gets back home, I will have a family waiting for him. So Gordon Dodds gets back home to England, and guess what? Bam! There's a family waiting for him. He goes to the woods on the golf course that he golfs on and sets up a night sit, and there they are. Xanue, his guardian, comes home with him. He's hanging out in the bedroom. Xanue goes with him to his office at the university and hangs out in his office. You can see the shimmering image, the figure. Gordon has one of his co-workers come into his office, lean on the desk and looking right at him, while Xanue is standing in the corner of the office behind this guy. He leans over and he says, Gordon, we've all watched your YouTube videos, and we're very concerned about you. Bigfoot doesn't exist. And Gordon said, I was trying so hard not to laugh because Xanue was standing right behind him in the corner. Now, here's the good news. You don't have to go to Soya to experience that in your own backyard. Lots of people want to go to Soya, and I understand why, but I can't accommodate everybody. I want to. If somehow I could not do my work and just do that more frequently, I'd be a happy guy. I would like to take more people, but the truth is you don't have to go to Soya. The truth is people who've been watching my YouTube videos and learning from me and going out into their own backyard and doing the stuff that I've been teaching, and or the people who read my book and go back out into the yards and do what I've been teaching, are starting to have success with interacting with the Bigfoot Forest People. Now, once again, this is very important for you to understand. Zorth wanted me to share, we are beings of light. We are the orbs, which means you could see them in a human form, head, shoulders, arms, trunk, legs, but they're a translucent being of light that you can see through them. And when they're in that stage, if you're anywhere near them, you will feel such a strong wave of unconditional love that you have never felt before in your life that will drop you to your knees and in tears. And they said, we are beings of light and we are the orbs. I have seen them in that beings of light form at least 4 times. We are beings of light. We are the orbs. We go into the trees during the day. We get the energy through the sunlight, the nutrients from the ground through the roots. We come out at night to play and to do our work. Please tell everyone that if kind people, there's 3 things, don't forget these 3 things. If kind people, 1, with good hearts, 2, if kind people with good hearts and an open mind, 3, if kind people with good hearts and an open mind reach out to us, we will reach back to them. Kind people, good hearts, open minds. Reach out to us, we will reach back. If you reach out with respect and love. And they are kind, caring, compassionate, loving, healing, benevolent. And the last thing they want you to be is afraid of them. They do not want you to be afraid of them. And if they sense you being afraid of them, they will back off. Because they don't want you to be afraid. And they'll give you your space until you can kind of calm down and get your act together and refocus and visit again, then they'll come in closer. Fear repels them. They don't want you to be afraid. Don't be afraid. If they were deadly, I wouldn't be here talking to you. Neither would Steve. Neither would Cynthia, Robert, Joel, Nancy, Eva. We'd all be dead. Now, you don't have to go to Soya, but you do need to be a kind person with a good heart and an open mind. We're in the trees, and the trees are everywhere. You do not have to go up in the mountains 25, 50 miles on quads, horseback, for a week-long camping trip or expedition. You can go out in your own backyard and start talking to the trees. With your mouth or with your mind or both. You reach out to them, they'll reach back to you. You must also demonstrate patience and persistence. Remember, 17 years. 4 total years in the woods. Patience and persistence. Now, I'm not saying it's going to take all of you 17 years, but I am telling you that I did demonstrate patience and persistence. And I broke that ground, I plowed that road ahead of all of you, so you don't have to do that. You actually don't have to take 17 years to do that. Now, some people have actually read my book, and then within the next day, boom, started having experiences. We have a couple here tonight who shared an awesome story with me about how they just finished reading my book, and then later on that night, in the woods behind their house, they recorded some awesome squatch screams that they never heard in the woods behind their house until after they read my book. Kind people, good hearts, open minds. Reach out to us, we will reach back. We're in the trees. The trees are everywhere. Patience and persistence. Love and respect. No fear. Fear pushes them back. They don't want you to be afraid. Zork told me, now that the 50-year mission got accomplished, the Exodus occurred, the chapter has closed and a new chapter is opening. A new chapter is beginning. They don't need to reach out to us for help anymore. to help them get over here because it's done. Now their focus is on reaching out to humanity, one person at a time, to help all of us reconnect with our Creator, reconnect with one another, because as a species, we're horribly disconnected. That's what leads to stealing, fighting, rape, murder, war. That's why they really don't want much to do with us, but now their focus has changed. They got everybody over. Their focus is reach out to humanity one person at a time. Help us to reconnect with our Creator. Help us to reconnect with one another, and help us reconnect with the earth. That's it. It's that simple. Zor said we come from the same God. We have the same souls. And when we all die, we go back to the same God. They do not want to be seen as a deity, because they're not. They do not want to be seen as gods, because they're not. They're just another species, another form of God's creation, another form of God's children. That's it. They would be offended if anyone tried to worship or elevate them to some position of deity. They see themselves as servants of God, not as God. That would offend them. Kind people, good hearts, open minds. Reach out to us, we'll reach back. Helping humanity to reconnect with God, with one another, with the earth. Patience and persistence, love and respect, no fear, your own backyard. It's that simple. That's where the focus is now. It is my hope that all of you, hopefully sooner than later, will be able to experience in your own backyards and inside your own homes, inside your own bedroom at night, because they're pretty much in our bedroom just about every night. I can feel them sit down on the bed sometimes, put their hand on my leg. I woke up one time at night with on my right side with my left arm being held by a hand at the wrist, and another hand was inside my left armpit with the fingers inside my body, working on what Cynthia and I later thought to be a lymph node for about a half hour. It was painful, and the pain lasted for about 2 days, but after that it was all better. And I even tried to, because this is pretty cool, right? So I'm trying to roll over on my back to wake Cynthia up, to like, babe, look, right? So I'm trying to roll over, in this hand holding my wrist, and this hand inside my armpit, pull me right back on my side. And then I hear this voice, go back to sleep, boom, I was out. Once they get to know you, in your own bedrooms, they will conduct medical scans and they will work on you. And I can't begin to tell you how many people have been healed that have taken the soya and since soya. They are healers. That's pretty much my 3 things that I wanted to cover tonight. I'm open to questions and answers for a few minutes, if there are any. Do we have questions? Yes.
know, there's so much going on with the world right now. You know, earthquakes, things like that. Have they communicated with you at all about anything being safe or being in certain places, or do they ever communicate things like that?
Okay, so a lot going on in the world: earthquakes, forest fires, wars and rumors of wars, right? North Korea going crazy. Is there a safe place to be on the planet? The end times. It's amazing how much interest, just a little side note, there is in that. I do YouTube videos for my YouTube channel, and I made a YouTube video 2 days ago regarding September 23rd, the planet Nibiru crashing into Earth and all the hype that's going on, right? Like, you idiots. There's been end of the world predictions and crisis coming back for the last 2,000 years. The Civil War was the end times. World War I was the end times. World War II was the end times. Desert Storm was the end times. 9/11 was the end times. Y2K was the end times. This goes on and on about the end times. And I'm saying we're all going to wake up on Sunday morning, September 24th, alive and continuing to do what we do. And when that happens, whoever was giving you that doomsday prophecy, that doomsday message, that person, that text, that script, whatever you're quoting, that person is a false prophet. Because if you're a valid prophet, what you prophesy is going to happen. And if you prophesy something and it doesn't happen, you're a freaking false prophet. So in my video, I just clearly say, stop following that person. Stop listening to that person. They're a false prophet. You're not supposed to follow false prophets. You've got a brain. Think for yourself. If you're following or learning from somebody who makes these kind of predictions and they don't come true, they're a false prophet. Stop following them. That particular YouTube video has gotten 30,000 hits in just one day. Zorth has said nothing to me about the end of the world, nor would he, because it's pretty clear. No man knows the day or the hour, not even the angels, not even the Son of Man. Only the Father knows. And if anyone's claiming to know the day and the hour, false prophet. We have nothing to worry about. We're fine.
There's still an hour and 26 minutes left.
It's already September 24th
Somewhere
on the other side of the time zone. The day is gone on most of planet Earth. We're good. Yeah, exactly. It's already behind us. We're fine. And just remember, there's lots of people who like to peddle fear because fear sells. Fear sells news programs, movies. Fear sells books. Fear sells magazines, podcasts, radio programs. Fear sells. Fear sells political campaigns. Fear sells everything. And what did I tell you? The one thing that repulses the Xanue? Fear. They don't want us to be afraid. Yes?
My thinking on that is the Xanue would never have chosen Earth if there was something drastic going to go on here. I believe that they know that we are, that we're going to move on to a better deal. So. Okay,
here's what I'll say about that. The Xanue came over to our planet during the time of our dinosaurs millions of years ago. Okay, so they came over during a good time. The Xanue are not deity. They do not see the future. Man does not know the day or the hour. The angels don't know. The Son of Man doesn't know. And I can guarantee you the Xanue don't know. Okay, nobody knows except the Father. But I will tell you this. They seem to have some kind of ability. If you've ever watched the movie Arrival.
Yes.
Did you see that movie?
Yes.
You got to watch that movie Arrival because there's a lot of overlapping similarities with the Xanue. Arrival, awesome movie. And in that movie, they seem to be able to, you know, the human race is on a linear time frame, right? Where this, in the movie, I know it's sci-fi, but they seem to have the ability to kind of do past, present, future. Well, up on the 9 o'clock hill in Soya, actually Zor told me in Soya after the Exodus that the portal at the 12 o'clock position goes anywhere in the universe. The portal up on the Council of 12 Hill goes anywhere on Earth, and the portal up on the 9 o'clock hill is a time travel portal. So one morning last fall, we're done. We've spent 4 nights up there. We're eating our breakfast in camp, and we're going to pack up and go. We're in camp, and coming over the 9 o'clock hill over the trees, we hear boom, boom, boom. And as it gets closer, you kind of feel the downwash. And we look up, and there's a pterodactyl flying over. And then it hangs a right and starts flying north. Boom, boom. And we're all sitting there with our jaws dropped. Like, what the heck? And in my mind right away was Zorth. Remember, I don't bother him unless I think it's necessary. I'm bothering him. I'm like, you guys can shape shift into anything you want to be, so that was one of you guys, right? And Zorth goes, no. And I said, well, what was it? He said, pterodactyl. I'm going, where did it come from? He said, oh, we have a time travel portal up there on the hill. It came through the time travel portal.
Wow.
So they don't know in a deity type of way, right? In a God kind of way. But they seem to have the ability to use portals, including time travel portals, that might give them some input. Other questions? Any questions? If you're behind me with your hand raised, say, hey, Matt, I can't see you. It's also a little dark. Any questions?
I'm behind you now.
Where? Hi. Yes.
So my question is, you just mentioned that they shapeshift into any form of animal.
They are beings of light.
Right.
They are the orbs. They can shapeshift into anything they want to be. Mostly, they choose to be an upright, hairy bipedal primate, human-looking. But they can shapeshift into a squirrel, a deer, a raven. I've seen them on one occasion shapeshift into humans. I was up in Soa, not Soya, but Soa, my other area, before that got crashed by the trolls. Just my little dog and I. My dog heard noise on the other side of the brush and trees.